Every Watsu begins by getting to know how it is to be in the water. How, as we breathe out, our body settles into the water. How, as we breathe in, the water lifts our body. Every Watsu begins by surrendering to the water together and letting it breathe us up. The first thing we do when we lay someone back in our arms is to make sure those arms are in the right places. One under the head, not the neck. The other under where their weight balances. Not lifting them up, but letting the water do everything. We breathe out. When they breathe in, the weight on our arm gets lighter. Its getting lighter draws our breath up. Without waiting, we drop back into the bottom of the breath. Doing nothing, we are drawn up out of the emptiness at the bottom of the breath each time that weight on our arm gets lighter. Our doing nothing establishes our unconditional holding. Our repeatedly being drawn up establishes how the moves to follow will be timed to the breath. With the first of these, the offerings, we settle to one foot as we breathe out and push against the bottom with that foot as we breathe in, and then settle to and push with the other foot. Each push arrives in our opposite arm to pull them around, a movement they are offered out with until our other foot pushes and our arm pulls them back to offer them to the other side. The offerings are all done to our own breath. Since this is a movement, it doesn't stop to wait for their breath. The traction, the pulling of their spine is continuous. One arm pulling the head, while the other pulls first the opposite hip, then one knee, and then both knees. The offerings are followed by the accordion, which is also timed to the breath, opening our arms on the in-breath and closing them on the out-breath. Here, too, tractioning, pulling up on the occiput as their hips sink. Then, with one hand supporting behind the shoulder, we rotate their knees and rock our pelvis as we swing their hips in the spiraling accordion. Clasping the softer hollows alongside the trochanter, between the heel of one hand and our shoulder, we shake from our hips. In India, these are considered gates where the spirit enters. Our shaking takes us way beyond the breath. We stop in stillness. Up till now, the breath has been drawn into all our moves. In this stillness, floating someone so close to our heart, another kind of movement may be drawn out our arms. A movement that is not breath-timed, but is a continuum without beginning, without end. Let more and more of your body become engaged in that continuum. Explore how your engagement in that continuum changes as you hold the near gate in your hand. Even more of your body becomes engaged as you reach over to the far gate, supporting, containing more of their body. Then freeing their arm, hold them out in a stillness, so far out that whatever is ready to be drawn up within them can be without your engagement. Then, bringing their head in front of yours, place it on your shoulder and holding their gaze, swing them from side to side. When their feet are farthest from the side their head is on, slide the head down to your elbow while you work the arm in behind your back to do their second side. Every Watsu begins floating someone at our heart. Once we determine they are comfortable, we drop into the emptiness at the bottom of the breath and do nothing. When the weight on our arm begins to lighten up as they breathe in, our breath is drawn up. And then, still doing nothing, we drop right back into the emptiness at the bottom of the breath. Again and again, each time dropping deeper. So deep, we are not even doing the doing of waiting. And then we are truly drawn all the way up out of the emptiness. This way of being connected through the breath is worlds apart from looking for or listening for someone's breath. There is no separation. Our connection in that emptiness establishes the rhythm of all our subsequent moves and stretches. Being moved to that rhythm, we don't stop to see if they're still breathing to it. They usually are. But even if they forget to breathe, their body continues to surrender to the rhythm that are both doing nothing established in the emptiness. Every breath draws a move. Every move carries the breath with it. The breath on its way in as we push with a foot to turn, the breath on its way out as we settle down, preparing to push back. What we called the water breath dance, when it was free of any impulse, has brought us together into this body breath dance, in which both body and breath lead and follow. No matter how distant the shores the one in our arms may have drifted out to, the breath draws them back. These are the opening moves of basic Watsu, which is the first step on all the Watsu paths. On the professional path, these breath-timed moves lead into even more powerful stretches and combinations that can be adapted to all the kinds of conditions that Watsu has found success in treating. Basic Watsu can be followed by the rest of Watsu 1, which introduces transitions into and out of the major positions. Watsu 2, which expands the moves and stretches in those positions. And Watsu 3, which introduces free flow, which, leaving behind sequence, builds on what those sequences taught our bodies about being with someone in whatever position they arrive. Other classes focus on adapting Watsu in clinics and tandem Watsu. Everything begins with basic Watsu and its water breath dance. Another kind of movement appears on all of Watsu's paths. The shaking you watch now frees us from those breath-timed moves that originated in the emptiness at the base of our core. The stillness that follows floats someone at our heart, the other center of our core, the center of our connection to others, floats them on our arms, arms that reach out from our heart to hold others. And in that stillness, a beginning of a movement appears in one arm or the other, a movement that is not timed to the breath, but is drawn out from the heart, a continuum that has no beginning and no end, a continuum that draws more and more of our body into it, a continuum that evolves as one hand explores holding from one side and then explores reaching over and engaging even more of our body in support and containment. The continuum is focused on in our Watsu Explorer Path classes, where students of all levels explore the creative potential in Watsu and how the continuum can flow into new moves. In our basic Watsu, a third stage follows our engagement in the breath-timed moves and the continuum. It is a stillness in which we hold someone out so far that neither our breath, nor our heart, nor our body are engaged in whatever is now allowed to be drawn up their own core. We never know what is inside another, but having been in others' arms, and from what those who have been in our arms have told us, we know many levels are reached in the short space of a basic Watsu. Its unconditional holding creates a safe containment, and the containment further frees whatever the breath-timed moves brought up. Basic Watsu is itself a path on which both the giver and receiver benefit and come to know more of their own wholeness, no matter how many times it is shared. The path does not stop at the pool's edge, but continues into the Tansa Yoga path on which those in a community can share the benefits of unconditional holding. One more traction. Gently lift their occiput, hold their head up, and rotate on the axis of your spine. Back them up to the wall, pushing their far leg and pulling the near as you lower them into a wide base. Hold their heart center with your right hand. Hold the back of their neck with your left hand. Place your left hand very gently over their third eye. Notice whatever might be rising up your own back as you lift up both hands. And with your middle fingers under their palms, bring their hands to the surface. Be there, letting them come back at their own pace.